to the finals, never lost.
You never got there, Lord.
Who?
You.
I've been a one-on-one champ, never lost one-on-one.
All right.
Back at it again, it's the Guy Spencer, and it is time. The 4th annual Spencer Codes Top 100 East Texas Players of 2024. The 4th annual list. This is by far the baby of Spencer Codes. This is the thing that I care the most about. Just bringing you all the best 100 players from East Texas. I looked at 582 guys from about November to January 31st, and had to be a first-team all-district player in order to be considered on the list. So if you weren't first-team all-district or a defensive newcomer or offensive newcomer or player of the year, a superlative like that, you were not eligible to be on this top 100. So if there's any really great ball players that show me a great highlight, but you weren't first-team all-district, you just didn't make. That's part of the reason you didn't make it. Speaking of guys who didn't make the list, there's there's a real bona fide ball players in East Texas that would have made this list had they made a highlight tape. Lance Jackson out of Pleasant Grove. Just really didn't see Lance play this year in order to say he's, you gotta have a highlight tape in order to make it. New Diana guys, DeJuan Johnson, the sophomore, and Jaden Johnson. No highlight tapes on the guys. I really would have loved to include them this year. Tomias Taylor out of Jefferson, really great quarterback out of there. Michael Strickland at TCU from Brownsboro, really good defensive back. And then one of my favorite offensive linemen from last year, Jonathan Bush from White House. Just wanted to shout those guys out. I know they're incredible players, and they're guys that would have made this, no doubt, if I would have had the tape on them. But the best 100 East Texas players, with no further ado, let's get into that first 10 right now. At number 100, the senior receiver from Dangerfield, wide receiver and safety, Kenny Mosley. Mosley, a two-time member of this list. He made the list last year at number 78. Pretty good year this year. Production went down a little bit, but the plays are still there. The player is still there. 38 catches, 721 yards, 7 touchdowns, and he had 3 picks. At least 3 picks that I saw on his tape alone. His defensive stats I couldn't really find, and he is a two-time member of the list. Kenny, big-time playmaker, had to step into that number 1 role with Bubba Hampton gone this year. And then Dangerfield struggled with Chase Johnson missing some time at quarterback this year. So not the same opportunity to really go out there and put on and make as many plays as he did the year before. But nonetheless, you can still see the talent in Kenny Mosley. He's a guy that can catch the screen and go to the house with it. He's a guy that will go down the field and adjust to the ball really well. Defensively, he is just he's a very instinctual player, knows how to make plays on the balls. He's got 9 interceptions over the last 2 years, so he's a really good football player. As you can see, he's in the return game as well. So really good football player in Kenny Mosley, coming in here, starting the list off strong at number 100. At number 99, a senior running back from Van, Texas, Austin Moffitt. Moffitt, really good football player. He had 244 carries this year over Max Probst got him at 1,453 rushing yards, 17 total touchdowns, 30 catches, 282 receiving yards for Austin Moffitt. One of the 3 Moffitts, the head coach, and then his brother Austin, out there in Van, they do just incredible work. Man, he's a tough physical presence running the football. He's a steady guy. He's a guy that you can constantly get the ball to repeatedly and continue to build chunks. He's shifty. He's a guy that gets vertical quick after he gets the ball in his hands. He's trying to go score it every single time. And just part of that Van culture, just toughness and grit, full of that team. And he's just really the prototypical Van running back, and had a really strong senior season. He's run the ball before in the past. He was, I don't know, he shared it last year. He really wasn't the full out starter last year. But this year, without a doubt, he was the starting tailback, and he brought it to boys all year long. And that's why he pops up here on the list at number 99. At number 98, a sophomore from Sulphur Springs, Deuce Hall. He had 105 carries, 774 yards, 21 total touchdowns. He had 20 touchdowns, and then he had a big kick return to start the year off. He also had 14 catches and 84 receiving yards. But what you see about Deuce, and Deuce isn't the main guy out there. Jackson Hare is one of the main guys that runs the ball out there at Sulphur Springs. But you can see that there was no keeping the ball out of this guy's hands. He is a strider. He's a tall guy that's running the football. He's about 6 foot, 6'1", and when he gets to running downhill, he covers some stripes. He's elusive. He's really a D1 back. Like, you can tell right away that he's going to have a really bright future. For just a sophomore, he runs the ball extremely well. Talented vision. They use him at quarterback in the Wildcat system, and you just see him run lanes and make slow people look even slower. He's a really good football player. Really anxious to see what Deuce Hall turns into over the next couple of years. But he had a really pretty great sophomore year, and that lands him here on this list at number 98. At number 97, member of one of the best, if not the best, one of the best defenses in East Texas. I can't call him the best all the way out, right? But man, another member of that fantastic Kilgore football team that went to the state championship this year, junior cornerback Dre Sanders. He had 52 tackles, 5 interceptions, 9 pass breaking ups, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles on the year. And just another member of a ball hawking secondary. Dre Sanders, Jalen Sanders. Then you've got Javon Towns, and then you've obviously got just Kalen Sheffield, who brought in numerous interceptions this year. Man, just another phenomenal football player. As you see that first pick he has against Gilmer, he just went up and caught the ball at the highest level. They're just competitive over there in Kilgore, and that's the reason why they've been doing so well the last few seasons. And man, of course they went to the state championship this year, but because they're full of fiery, competitive, athletic, really good football players, especially here in the secondary at Kilgore. Talking about Dre Sanders, just competitive, man. You see him go up and snag the ball away from people. Like, he's just one of those guys. Kilgore's always been a really good 7-on-7 team in the past too, and so seeing these guys out here with these type of ball skills, it is not a surprise that they made the plays that they made this year. So really good football player out there in Kilgore. A junior, he gets the chance to do it again and be a 2-time member next year if he has another phenomenal season like he had this year. Dre Sanders. At number 96, a senior wide receiver from Longview Pine Tree, it is Jordan Taylor. Taylor had 42 catches, 966 receiving yards, averaged 23 yards per catch, and had 11 touchdowns this year for the Pine Tree Pirates. Player who's had a really successful last year. He was the offensive player, newcomer of the year as a junior last year in the district. Really good football player. He catches the football as well as almost anybody in East Texas, and then when he gets the ball in his hands, he can go that distance. He's a strong runner with the football. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Mosley. They use him in a lot of different ways offensively, but he's just a phenomenal football player. He's a guy that just can make things happen with the ball in his hands, strong with it, and really a great career he's had over there in Pine Tree. Pine Tree won 10 games a year. They went 10-2, and he's a part of one of the best teams in recent Pine Tree history. And so he's also a key cog and a really good player on one of those teams. A guy that's probably in the top 5, top 10 Pine Tree wide receivers ever. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that one day. Anyway, Jordan Taylor, number 96, the senior from Pine Tree, coming in here on the top 100 East Texas players of 2024. At number 95, a big, nasty, physical offensive guard from Hallsville, Texas, the senior, Graham Black. And Graham Black is just, first, he's huge. He's about 6'2", all of 320 pounds. He's kind of athletic for that size, and he is mean, nasty, one of those people. And you can tell based off the highlights that he chose to represent his first couple of plays, this dude is an asshole. He's a guy that's going to bury you into the ground. He is a nasty guy that likes to put all his weight on you. He's just one of those mean, nasty, big, ugly offensive linemen that we all love so much here in East Texas. Just watch people in the whiplashes they get whenever he hits them. Just insane. He's a good football player. Comes up here on the list at number 95. Watch him murder some more people. There's really nothing else to say about him. Just watch him run around and hit small people and make them fly. At number 94, the junior quarterback and safety from Grand Saline, Jet Taylor. Jet Taylor had an incredible year this year. He had about 1,500, almost 1,600 passing yards this year, 15 touchdowns, but he's a killer on the ground. 1,909 rushing yards, 28 rushing touchdowns on the Grand Saline team. I think that went 12-1 this year, and he was obviously the MVP of what they did out there. He is an athletic dude, man. He's a guy that can really run the football. You can tell he's been doing it his whole life. He's probably scored the first touchdown off his first carry. He looks like an absolute natural running the football. A really good football player. He is, and I think that he's gonna has a chance. He did some special things this year. Don't remember Grand Saline being that good here recently, and so he's a really good football player. I think he, maybe an early state contender next year with a guy like that coming back playing quarterback. So at number 94, a guy that impressed me a lot, Jet Taylor. At number 93, the thunder to the lightning out there in Carthage, the big junior running back, Benny Smith, comes in here after 138 carries, 1,273 rushing yards, averaged 9.22 yards per carry and 19 touchdowns. This is a guy that shares the load with maybe one of the best backs in East Texas, if not the best out there. Benny Smith comes in here, and he is, like I said, the thunder to the lightning, the Lindell White to Reggie Bush out, if you want to compare it to something. He is just phenomenal with the ball in his hands, and he is a balanced runner. He's looking for contact. He wants to bury you through that first wave of contact, and then he obviously, if he gets through that first or second level of contact, those safeties do not want it with Benny Smith. He scored a number of touchdowns after teams are worn down in the fourth, especially late against Pleasant Grove in the playoffs. You've seen him, and he had that role throughout the year. He's carried the load when KJ wasn't available some of those weeks, and he's a guy that he's a really good football player and will start on a lot of teams in East Texas. He just happens to share it with one of the best in East Texas. But Benny Smith comes in here on the list at number 93. At number 92, the senior receiver, offensive weapon from Center, Texas, Timothy Johnson. 74 catches, 1,290 receiving yards, 17.4 yards per catch, had 21 total touchdowns, also used as a running back, had over 200 or 300 yards running the football as well. Timothy Johnson, a monster out there from Center. A really good football player, really good high school football player. A dependable receiver, has good speed on him, and he's just going to make plays. And it didn't matter who the opponent was, he was going to find a way to go out there and make a play. And that's just who he is, and that's what he did. 21 touchdowns is an incredible year for a receiver. So you know how that had to be feeling. He's one of those. It got to be one of the best feelings that he had in the world, just being a guy, to being able to compete for your school and then to go off and be one of those guys on the team. Had to be a great senior season and a great senior feeling for him. But you can just see the plays, they speak for himself. He's a guy that's always going to come up with the ball. I don't know, it's a highlight tape, right? Why would he not put it up there? But you get what I'm saying. Like, he's a ball player and a dude, and playing amongst a lot of dudes out there in Center. And I think he's was a really good, phenomenal, outstanding target for them, and comes here on the list at number 92, Timothy Johnson. And the last for this list at number 91, Jamarian Richardson, the junior wide receiver and cornerback from Pleasant Grove. We're talking about a guy that can absolutely play. He's got great ball skills. He's a guy that is going to defend the ball well in the air. As a receiver, he attacks the football. He's dangerous with the ball in his hands. He scored like 8 touchdowns this year. 7 through the air, and then 1 on the ground. He's a really good player with the ball in his hands, but he's also a dynamic defensive back as well. As you can see, he can really close in on passes, and then once he catches it, it's dangerous. He's almost always a pick six. A good tackler. You saw that in the playoff game early on. He made a great play on KJ Edwards and stripped the ball right out of his hands. But you just see him; he's not afraid, and that's the thing about Pleasant Grove. They're one of the toughest teams in East Texas. Shout out to their coach Josh Gibson. He runs a great program. They're always competitive year in, year out. And that's the one thing about seeing Pleasant Grove players on tape. They bring it. And that's practically the whole city of Texarkana. Texarkana has some hard-nosed playing football kids up there. And Jamarian Richardson is one of those guys coming in here on the list at number 91.